Hello and welcome to Pop Culture Shark, a live stream about all things pop culture. I'm Final Monkey.
And I'm Caleb.
We got a big show for you today. We are going to continue ranking the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We started this last week, and we've already got very different opinions on where these movies go. But before that, we are going to do our weekend checkup. Caleb, how are you doing today?
I am doing well. So this week, first things first, I did get to see Thor: Love and Thunder. You'll be able to hear what I think about that once we get to it on the tier list. Um, as far as everything else, at my job, I actually uh, am out of training now, so I'm doing the job. I'm doing what I'm doing for the foreseeable future. um, as far as any pop culture stuff that I've been devouring this week, I have gotten into not any new stuff. I've been watching and reading some stuff that I haven't uh, consumed in a while. Uh, Blade Runner 2049 is one of my favorite films of all time, and so I watched a little bit of that. I'm wanting to watch Black Lotus. I've actually never seen Black Lotus. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. And then I've actually started rereading my favorite book of all time. My favorite book of all time is a book called Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. So uh, started to reread that one. Um, but other than that, nothing. Nothing too much. How about yourself?
So, my youngest just got back from camp, so we he told me to wait to watch Eternals till he got back.
Hmm.
So we watched that Friday night. You'll hear my thoughts later on it. And then I decided to finish watching Neon Genesis Evangelion, whatever it's called. Uh, and I don't recommend watching both of those in one weekend. Oh my head.
one of them is considerably better than the other one.
Um, well, one made more sense than the other one. I'll say that. It may not be the one you expect. Yeah. Boy. Yeah. So I was watching Neon Genesis Evangelion. I got to the end, and the ending didn't make any sense. But I knew I'd heard that going in that the ending wouldn't make sense. So I was at least mentally prepared for that. So then I started watching a YouTube video on explaining the show, and then I was like, wait, none of this happened. So then I was like, oh wait, they remade the ending with movies. So then I stayed up late last night watching the movies. I was like, well, that was better, but still doesn't make any sense. And then I read that, oh, well, now he's got a whole new movie thing where he's explaining it again. I was like, no, I'm done. I don't need to go down this rabbit hole again. I'm done. So yowza. Um, but a friend of mine was saying, "Oh yeah, the guy who created it had like a mental breakdown towards the end," and I was like, "Oh, you could tell." It is really out there. But if for some reason you do decide to watch it, I do recommend the movie endings over the TV show. But
That's the end of Evangelion, right?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
it's all on Netflix. If for some reason you decide to watch it, it's not a terrible series. I thought I found a lot of it quite interesting, but it's a lot of psychological mumbo jumbo at the end, mixed with just all kinds of religious symbolism, and you're just kind of like, huh? So, and I was reading some reviews on it where people were like talking about the movie at least, or like either they were saying this is the greatest anime film of all time, or they're saying that was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. So, yeah, it's a mess. So anyhow, let's switch gears here. Let's go to some news. Um, First off, it sounds like Nintendo is getting into the animation business. They acquired a company. Let me pull it up because you sent it earlier.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a Dynamo Pictures, I think, is what it was.
Dynamo Pictures, yeah. So they bought a 3D animated company. Um, this is interesting. Nintendo, they've dabbled a little bit in 3D animated movies. We've seen some Pikmin shorts. We've seen the amazing animations for Super Smash Brothers. Um, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with this. They've had bad luck though when they've kind of gone and outsourced it. We've all know what happened with the Super Mario Brothers movie, which has kind of given Nintendo cold feet from giving out their properties to be made. So it'll be interesting to see what they do internally.
Who's doing the new Mario movie? Is that
It's DreamWorks or Illumination,
Illumination? That's right. That's right.
the ones that do the Minions movies. I still don't know what to think about that movie because we haven't seen anything of it. So until we see a trailer, that could be either the greatest thing ever or a train wreck.
So far, the last thing that was a Nintendo property that was a movie I really liked, actually, that being a Detective Pikachu. So
Yeah, Detective Pikachu was pretty good, and I feel like, let's see, that's the Pokemon company, and they've had quite a bit of experience making Pokemon into anime and stuff.
yeah,
So it'll be interesting. I'm just curious to see, what we get. I would love like a really good anime based on like F-Zero or Captain Falcon, really just exploring that world. Because I think that's an interesting world to explore.
Yeah. They did do the F-Zero GP Legend anime, which from what I remember, I kind of like that.
Yeah. That's one of my gray areas on Nintendo I don't know a lot about. Just when I see the racers and their bios, I'm like, oh, these are kind of cool characters,
Yeah. I just remember it like because it was on around the same time as a Kirby Right Back at You.
Yeah.
And they never finished the dub, so the only time I ever saw the ending was I just looked up the final Falcon punch on what was his name, Black Bull or Black Shadow or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's Black Shadow. Yeah. So let's switch gears. This week saw the end of Miss Marvel, a show I have not watched at all. I don't know. Were you watching it?
No, actually. And it's not that I don't like Miss Marvel. I just I don't care. So from what I can tell, because typically memes come out really fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
I heard nothing about the show. I didn't hear if it was good. I didn't hear if it was bad. I forgot that it came out until it said that Miss Marvel was the lowest watched Disney Plus show. And first of all, I'll bring this up. I think there's a couple reasons for that. It premiered at the same time as Obi-Wan Kenobi, and people care about Obi-Wan Kenobi more. But the second thing, and I don't know if I've already talked about this, but Multiverse of Madness came out, and it showed that you don't need to watch these shows because there's so many people watched WandaVision, and so many people didn't watch WandaVision. And the people who didn't watch WandaVision still got a pretty good movie with Multiverse of Madness. So, it's I think that's the main reason. And you're going to see viewership drop in the Marvel shows because overall, they really haven't been that good. But we've been watching them because we're afraid that we're going to miss something. But now we've learned we're not missing anything.
So from what I've heard, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of Miss Marvel. It's not that I hate the character; I just don't care about the character. Um, I've heard the show is decent from people seeing it. They're like, oh, it's a good show for little kids or young girls or whatever. That this is a good role model and it's fun. Um, and I heard it's not a bad show. It's just nobody watched it. One of the problems with this character is Marvel, for whatever, well, I know why, has been forcing this character on everybody for like the last 5 years. Like,
Yeah. It was before the Avengers game, honestly.
yeah, but the Avengers game was a game, and part of the reason she gets pushed so much is one of and I don't remember her name, but one of the Marvel execs is one of the co-creators of Miss Marvel. And so every time she appears in a video game or a TV show or whatever, this exec gets extra money. It's her creation. So obviously she gets pushed everywhere,
Yeah.
So the big reveal, we've been dancing around it, is in the end credit scene. Miss Marvel finds out that she is a mutant. So normally that wouldn't be a big deal. However, we haven't had a mutant yet in the MCU, unless you count alternate universe Professor Xavier. I saw some people online trying to say, no, she's not. And I'm like, did you even watch the clip where it played the X-Men music when they said it?
Yeah.
It's hard to deny that she is definitely a mutant. The creators of the comics said, oh, yeah, she was supposed to be a mutant there, but Ike Perlmutter forced them to change it to an Inhuman because they were having that whole war with Fox at the time, and they didn't want to create any more mutants in the comics. It's just an odd choice. I don't care if she's a mutant, whatever. It's an odd choice that this is how you introduce the concept into the MCU. And the question is, so why is there mutants now? Like, did Thanos snap when they brought everybody back? All that energy caused mutations. And if so, what do you do about mutants that have been around for a long time, like Wolverine or Magneto or Apocalypse? There's some questions we need answered.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people were hoping we would get the answers in Multiverse of Madness with Wanda. Like maybe she would rewrite reality or something, but that doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah. So me personally, I don't mind this. I don't like the way that it's implemented. I think the execution is really bad. Because firstly, at this point, with her powers and her just with her powers and her being a mutant and all that changing, she's not Miss Marvel. She's Armor.
Oh yeah, they definitely said that, and the creator said, "Oh yeah, we're basing her more on Armor than we are the comic character."
I also am not a fan. And honestly, here's the thing: you could say, it's your mutation, and then leave that. I am not a fan of using the old X-Men theme, because I don't think it's deserved.
Well, here's the thing: that this is the second time they've used that music. They used it also in Doctor Strange. If you keep teasing us with the X-Men 90s, then when we get the X-Men, they better be wearing the costumes from the X-Men 90s show. Those like iconic costumes, and you better give us a show or a movie that's deserving of that X-Men title. Don't keep teasing us with that, and then it'd be Grant Morrison's X-Men or something.
Yeah, it and like Multiverse of Madness, at least I would say it was deserving of it, because it's Professor X.
Yeah.
Although in Multiverse Madness, was it the 90s theme? I thought it was the
You were breaking up a little bit.
oh, gotcha. I thought it was the like the Fox movie theme, which
No,
is slightly different.
I'm pretty sure it was the 90s cartoon.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure they've used the same one twice now.
Yeah. Regardless, it was not deserved in Miss Marvel, because it doesn't matter what the intention originally was for her to be a mutant. She wasn't a mutant. So, yeah, I'm fine with it. I don't like the execution. But I've seen interviews with the actress. She seems really cool. Like,
oh, the actress is awesome.
Yeah.
She is a huge Marvel fan. She is so excited.
What I mean, like she seems like the real life Kamala Khan in the fact that she's like geeking out over all this.
Yeah, she is perfect. I have nothing at all against the actress. It's one of those characters I just don't know that well. Other than it just seems like Captain Marvel, they keep pushing this character that sometimes I think her first couple of comic series did well, and then when they kept relaunching it, they kind of messed it up, and the sales dropped.
Yeah,
but
for me, it's like, and I don't know WWE too well, but I specifically remember at one point everyone hated Roman Reigns because they would not stop pushing him.
Where somebody becomes the favorite of the owner of wrestling or Vince McMahon or whatever, and they push them like crazy, even if the audience is not going along with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So since we're talking about X-Men already, we'll go ahead and move on to San Diego Comic-Con, which I think is this weekend or it's soon.
It's coming up.
Yeah. We've had some rumors leak. I've heard a lot of people debunk the rumors already. But just that there are a lot of chatter about what we might see at the Marvel panel at San Diego Comic-Con. I think the two big ones, and I don't know if we'll get them at San Diego Comic-Con, because D23, the big Disney thing, is also coming up in a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
So I think some of that might get saved for that. But I think the two properties we need to hear about soon are Fantastic Four and X-Men. I think that, especially now that they've dropped the Kamala Khan's a mutant thing, that's on everybody's minds. Now would be the time to say, okay, here's a tease of what's our plans with the X-Men. And I think it's getting close to time to I think it's time to start saying, here's what Phase 5 is, or at least the first parts of Phase 5.
Yeah, one thing that I have heard is Phase 4 is gonna be longer than the other phases. So I don't know if they'll say Phase 5 or if this is like the remainder of Phase 4. At this point, it doesn't even feel like a phase, honestly.
No, there's no connective. I mean, there are little storylines here and there that are connecting, like the Thunderbolts or Dark Avengers and the Young Avengers. But for the most part, these all feel separate stories.
Well, all that stuff's all that is in the show.
Mm-hmm.
In the show. So like as far as movies, there's like literally nothing connecting them.
Yeah, they seem to be hinting that there's other worlds. You know, we saw in Shang-Chi, they were trying to open a gate, if I recall. We've seen Doctor Man was exploring different universes. So there is this concept of other worlds that are kind of popping up here and there. But for the most part, there is no connective tissue of, oh, we're forming the Avengers. Oh, we got to find the Infinity Stones. You know, we don't have that right now.
There's no big bad.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's supposed to be Kang and they just haven't connected all those dots yet. But you know, the more likely one is Doctor Doom, and we've heard some rumors. Um,
Not a fan.
well, this is major spoilers. We're gonna spoil a movie that's coming out in the near future. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. If you don't want to hear about this,
And it may or may not be spoilers. Who knows?
I'm hearing this as a spoiler. So the end credit scene in Wakanda Forever will involve Doctor Doom, is what I've heard. Now, there's been rumors of who will play Doctor Doom. I've only heard those like from you and a couple other weird websites. I don't put a whole lot of stock in those.
Okay.
But who'd you say it was again? It was Javier.
Javier Bardem.
Yeah, I just don't buy that. I don't think that's accurate.
I really hope not. Because what I've heard is they're gonna make Doctor Doom like a conquistador.
I think you broke up again.
Yeah. They're trying to make a Doctor Doom a conquistador, and that is like if you know anything about Doctor Doom's lineage and where he came from, that's the equivalent of making Magneto a Nazi. So
yeah, at first I say I don't buy it, but I know that they are making Namor a bit of an Aztec, so I don't know, or I don't know if it's just that the Aztecs worship him or what. Yeah, I know that they're hesitant to do the whole he's a gypsy thing because I know that's kind of frowned upon now. But yeah, just make him a vague European monarch. That's all we're asking for.
Yeah,
it doesn't, you don't have to make it more complicated than that.
He's Latverian. Like Latveria is not a real place. Just make him Latverian.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not complicated at all.
Yeah. So I think if those leaks are true, I think the major thing we're gonna get at SDCC, because I do think they would say Fantastic Four and X-Men for D23. There's one thing that you don't put at D23 because D23 is more family oriented. So you would probably talk about Deadpool at SDCC.
I could see that. Deadpool, I could see maybe some chatter about Ant-Man because that's coming up pretty quick after Wakanda Forever. Yeah. We might get a trailer for Wakanda Forever. I think we might get a teaser for the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special.
Yeah.
And then we might get some news on the Werewolf by Night Halloween special. I don't know if that's this year or next year, but they are working on a Halloween special.
I believe that's this year.
Yeah, so I think they might announce that either here at D23. I think D23 might be more TV show oriented. That's just me guessing.
Yeah. Another thing that Marvel's been doing that I'm not a fan of is they have been really reserved with their. They've been really reserved with their advertising. For some reason, and I'm not sure why. So like we don't get a trailer until like a month before the movie comes out. I don't get it.
I think part of the problem is there's too many Marvel projects. You got She-Hulk show, you got Miss Marvel out this month, you had Doctor Strange, Thor. All this is within like a 4-month period. It's way too crowded, and so you don't want to be advertising Thor while Doctor Strange is what you're trying everybody to go see. So and I think that's why people are getting burnt out on Marvel right now.
Absolutely, I am. I can very much confirm that.
Other than She-Hulk, I don't care about Ironheart or Armor Wars or Secret War, or not Secret Wars, Secret Invasion. A lot of these TV shows are coming out I like Agatha Harkness. Am I excited about her show? No.
Um,
So
I'm actually really excited for Werewolf by Night.
yeah, that could be a lot of fun.
I,
Uh, ma-
I I think that might be like a fun way to, because I think Oscar Isaac's Moon Knight's supposed to be in it. Um, I think that would be a cool place to introduce Blade or Black Knight.
yeah, they've got all these wacky monster characters. I can't remember what he's called, the living mummy or whatever, and Dracula, and there's a
Mhm.
zombie. There's all kinds of these old '70s Marvel monster characters that would be really fun just to do. I don't want them to have, and we'll talk about this later when we get to the movie rankings. You don't have to have a movie based on, but just like a little special here or there, just showing like, oh yeah, there's this corner of the Marvel universe that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
No, speaking of Dracula, the rumored casting for Dracula, I think, is pretty inspired, honestly.
yeah, it's so we don't know if this is true or not, but the rumor is the guy from The Boys TV show is
And
playing him.
yeah, Anthony
Now,
Starr.
Now, I heard that's one of the reasons that list got debunked is because he's going to be filming The Boys the same time he's supposed to be appearing on that panel. So it doesn't make sense timeline wise. But you never know. They fly these people in at the last second. No one knows, and so. All right, so let's get to the ranking of the movies. Caleb's going to pull up our list from last week, and we'll just briefly recap what we determined last week in our rankings.
All right.
And I should probably pull up the list of movies. That might help.
I was talking about rankings after church today with some people I went out to lunch with, and there's a movie that I didn't realize we completely forgot until I got home and looked at the tier lists again, and I'm like, oh, that's got to be indicative of where it goes on the tier list.
We forgot a movie?
Well, no, I didn't forget it. I forgot a movie whenever I was talking about it in conversation. It's here on the tier list, but I definitely forgot to bring it up whenever I was talking about it with people at lunch today.
Okay.
It's coming up, so we'll be able to talk about it then.
Okay.
But yeah.
Oh, you know what? It helps if I put it on the screen. Here we go.
Oh yeah. So for me, so far out of these movies, I haven't completely hated any of them. So I still think the Civil War is peak Marvel. It has not gotten better than that. Followed closely by Winter Soldier and Guardians of the Galaxy. I love Avengers: Age of Ultron. I know most people are not fans, but it's my favorite Avengers movie. And then I got to put Iron Man 3 up here. I always do. Guardians Volume 2 is one that has risen above the ranks as I've watched it more and more. I really am a fan of it. Thor and Captain America, I think, are just whenever Marvel really started to catch their stride, and I do like Homecoming quite a bit. Doctor Strange, I think, is a fine Marvel movie, with Avengers being the greatest Power Rangers film I've ever seen. And the Iron Man duology right here is the baseline for me whenever it comes to Marvel. Like, this is our baseline. Ant-Man is serviceable, and I like Hulk more than most people. And Thor: The Dark World is not as bad as people say. So there's my previously on recap of tier lists, and then this one is yours.
Okay, so I know people don't love Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I love it. It's just more of everything I love about the Guardians of the Galaxy. That's followed by Guardians of the Galaxy 1, which I think has some issues in the third act, but is otherwise fantastic. Winter Soldier is just a fine Marvel movie, very solid. Then we drop down to Civil War. Nothing wrong with it per se. Just I think it's a little bit too long. It's a very complicated movie too. Like I was trying to show it to other people, and they were like getting confused and stuff. And so Iron Man is it got so many things right. That's a movie that should not work at all, and they just nailed it and started everything. So I think it deserves its rank there. I really like the Thor movie and Captain America, so they're both right here. I'm surprised I have Thor over Captain America.
You want to change that?
I think Captain America. Yeah, I just like Steve a little bit more than Thor.
All right,
go ahead and switch it. Then we got Ant-Man, and which one is that? Spider-Man. Homecoming.
Yep.
Homecoming. Mostly for the Vulture.
Oh, absolutely.
The Doctor Strange. And the Bees, I think Avengers: Age of Ultron it's all right, and Avengers, I think those go right about there. Iron Man 3 is not as bad as people say, so I have it as B. A lot of people that don't like that movie is just because of the Mandarin reveal. And I do think that's a squandered opportunity. Not, I like Trevor, but I think that not having Iron Man fight Mandarin on film is kind of a crime. But that's just me. Next is Incredible Hulk. It's okay. It's I like some of the things it's setting up, but it's pretty forgettable. And then the D column, we got Thor: The Dark World and Iron Man 2, two movies that I've only seen them once, and I remember not liking them, so that's where they're at. So,
cool.
All right, so let's go to our next film.
Yes, I believe the next one is it Thor Ragnarok? Because our last one was Spider-Man.
Yeah, I've got a bad list here. Let me find a different list. But you're probably right. So let's.
Because that year was Guardians, followed by Spider-Man, followed by Ragnarok. Yes, Ragnarok is our next one.
All right, so. Okay, so why don't you tell us what you think of Thor Ragnarok, which is fitting because we just had Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yes, and I really hate that this is how we're starting off the part 2. I hate this movie. That goes right there.
I think you're breaking up a little bit again.
Okay. Feige's trying to shoot me down.
Yeah.
I am not a fan of this movie. I think this is completely disrespectful to both the source material, and it is disrespectful to the character that they have set up in the previous movies. Honestly, the way that I describe this movie is if Spaceballs was canon to the Star Wars universe. This movie is a parody of a Marvel movie. And that's fine, but I don't need the parody of a Marvel movie in my universe, So I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of Hela. I think there are some parts that are good. The reason that it is not the absolute bottom is because it does have redeeming qualities. I'm a big fan of everything on Sakaar. I love Planet Hulk, and so as a Planet Hulk movie, I think this movie kind of rocks. But everything else, I kind of hate.
So, and we've talked about this before. I think one of the big issues is tonally, this does not match the other Thor movies and what was being set up.
Yes.
And this is another case of a Marvel movie having the wrong title. Because nothing about this feels like a Ragnarok. Nothing about this feels like the end of the world, everybody's going to die. That we were teased in Age of Ultron. And, the comic books is a very dark story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to mispronounce his name, but Surtur, or what his name is very misused here.
Surtur is just a plot device. He's a MacGuffin.
Yeah. So I have a lot of problems with this movie. However, I'm going to rank it probably quite a bit higher than you.
Okay.
Probably after Civil War. Just because
Oh.
now the reason I'm going to say this, uh, the reason I say this, there's a lot of problems with this movie, and it doesn't fit in with Thor 1 and 2. It's still a fun movie. It is a very fun movie to watch. Uh, there, like I said, there's issues. The Thor Odin scene is touching. Uh, the beginning of Loki doesn't quite make sense. It doesn't line up with how the last movie ended. Um, yeah, you can put it after Civil War, but I think it's okay enough that it still makes it into my top 10. It's just not what it should have been.
Before,
After Civil War.
So right here.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
It's still like if it's on, I'm gonna watch it. That's more I can say for most of these movies. So I have to give it at least that. But that once we get through some more of this list, there'll be a lot. I think we'll hold off talking more about Thor until we get to the next movie, because I think it goes hand in hand with Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
So
next, I believe is it Black Panther?
Yoink, let me pull up the list. Yes, Black Panther followed by Infinity War.
Gotcha. Okay, so for me, I adore this movie. I love Black Panther. I love Black Panther more than most people, I think. So for me, this is very much an S tier movie. I don't know if I put it above or below Age of Ultron. I'm gonna go above, just because I think Eric Killmonger is definitely one of the best villains that we've gotten in the MCU. I'm a big fan. So yeah, and honestly, what I didn't think we were getting whenever we were getting this movie was a really cool spy thriller. The first half of this movie is completely a spy thriller, and it's awesome. I think Andy Serkis as Claw. It's unfortunate that they killed him, but he's great. He's just fantastic.
They are really trying to silence you tonight. What did you say about Claw?
Oh, he's fantastic. He's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm hoping that his story's not over. I'm hoping like maybe he merged after he died with the vibranium, and now he's like sound energy or something, and we can get that robot version from the comics.
Yeah.
Because it'd be a real shame to throw that character away. Claw is such a fun character in the comics.
Yeah, he was a fun character in Age of Ultron and Black Panther too. Like it's Andy Serkis. He's great.
And the one in the comic books is like insane.
Yes.
So I think Andy Serkis does insane very well. So we've seen with Golem. I it would be a shame if they don't continue that storyline somehow. So as for me, some comic books I'll read several times, and some I only read once. So Black Panther's one I've only seen once, but I remember really, really liking it. Yeah, I'd probably put between Civil War and Ragnarok, somewhere up there. I've got a lot of movies in the A tier, so we'll see how this goes. But I feel like most Marvel movies are pretty fun watches. They're just a little bit flawed, and so I think see. No, I just remember. I remember really being moved by both of their points of view. It was I didn't necessarily agree with Killmonger, but I saw where he was coming from, but also saw where T'Challa was coming from. So I think it was some really good writing. And I really felt for Killmonger at the end of that movie.
Yeah.
His death scene was really powerful.
Oh man, it's so good. What would he say? Because they knew that death was better than bondage. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I think that they're gonna find that no one actually cares about the Wakandan culture. We only care about T'Challa and Killmonger. So it is. I think that them not recasting is a big mistake. So we'll see.
We shall see. I've read some of the spoilers. I don't know if I'll see Wakanda Forever in theaters, but we'll see. There, I like Namor. I like the character we talked about earlier. But we'll see.
Yeah, I'll see it in theater because me and my brother, we got this streak going.
Yeah.
So next up we have Infinity War. So Infinity War to me is very interesting. I know for a fact where you're gonna put it. For me, it's gonna go right here. Feige, come on. No, it's gonna go right here because I think this is almost a perfect movie. This is almost the perfect script. So it is almost an S tier movie, specifically because I think that whenever we're following Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, oh, that's fantastic. Whenever we're following Rocket and Thor and Groot and all that, that's great. Whenever we're following Captain America and his team, it is the most tedious. It's tedious and there comes a point where I think they're making some pretty dumb decisions.
Yeah, and you broke up a little bit there, but you were saying that when we follow the Captain America Wakanda part, it's tedious. So
right, it is. I get like an audio cue of when I break up, so I'm getting better about like stopping what I'm saying in the middle, and waiting for me to come back.
I'm going to put this movie. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the connection tonight.
Yeah.
I'm going to put this movie at number 1.
Yeah, I knew that's where it was going.
and I don't disagree with what you said about Wakanda. Wakanda parts of this movie are not great. For the most part, when the other characters start showing up, it gets better. But yeah, there is a lull. There's a lull there where you're waiting.
Oh yeah, I think "Bring Me Thanos" is like the coolest line in the whole movie. Just that whole thing.
So for me, this is really Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is what this is. It's kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 guest starring the Avengers.
2.5.
2.5. Yeah. I would yeah. The Thanos stuff, all the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff is fantastic. The ending of this movie is amazing.
Yes, absolutely.
It's one of the most haunting scenes where Captain America's just like, what just happened? Did we just lose? He just has this look on his face of dread. Like, it's incredible. It is a incredible film. And I'm just looking at the rest of the list. I don't think anything tops this. This is my absolute favorite Marvel movie. I'll watch this one over and over.
Yeah. Now, I will say Infinity War was one of the worst theater-going experiences I've ever had. Because I went opening weekend. And if you go opening weekend, be prepared to... it's like riding a roller coaster. People are screaming and... So here's the thing. I agree that it's the most haunting scene when all of them are turning to dust. But in that movie theater, people were screaming, no, and I'm just like, oh my god. So I'll be honest, that kind of soured my opinion on this film for a long time. I'm like, oh man, I hate this movie. But watching it at home, being able to rewatch it as it was intended in the peace and quiet, and being able to just feel that scene, oh, it definitely went up. But no,
Just the way the sound all starts dropping out of the movie,
yeah.
it's so good. And if you know what Groot is saying, it'll break your heart.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
I think what they need to do for Marvel movies is they need to have like a smoking and non-smoking section. It's like, okay, if you want to go crazy, you go in this movie theater. But if you want a quiet theater, you got this one over here.
I kind of like the crazy crowd sometimes.
Sometimes I do.
Yeah.
I liked it in everyone cheering for Bring Me Thanos. Everyone cheering for Cap. Everyone cheering for Cap lifting the hammer. Like that's like cheer for the cool stuff. Don't boo and hiss at the screen whenever something is happening. Like
let me get on my little milk crate for a second. If a character does something in a movie that you do not like, do not send the actor death threats. The people that hated Peter Quill for what he did in this movie drove me nuts. They were sending all kinds of stuff to Chris Pratt, talking about how they hate him stuff. He did not write the movie. he's just in it. If you can't understand that, maybe you shouldn't be watching movies.
And because of this, I think we can all agree the kid who plays Joffrey in Game of Thrones is the greatest actor ever, because people still hate him. His character has been dead for like 10 years.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. But yeah, I think Infinity War is an amazing movie. So yeah, it's my number one.
Yeah. So the next one, I think, is the one that I forgot about today while I was talking with people. What is the next one?
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah, I definitely forgot about this one. I'm a big fan of this channel called High Top Films. He does a lot of analysis on Marvel movies, DC movies, just things he likes. And his one sentence review of Ant-Man and the Wasp, it's always stuck with me. Brilliant but lazy. Which, if you don't know, that's the reference to Spider-Man 2. This movie really doesn't have anything going for it. This is the most inconsequential movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I think it's hilarious that we had to, because we took the major Ant-Man villain away from him and gave him to Iron Man, and that being Ultron, we had to take an Iron Man villain and give it to Ant-Man, which would be Ghost, which I don't think is a fair trade, but
somewhere that Pam had.
Yeah. So for me, this is definitely going in C tier. It's better than I enjoy it more than Ragnarok. I think the comedy is funny. I love Randall Park as the FBI agent. Like he's great. And the scene with Goliath, it's all like really fun. But this movie really has nothing going for it. There's nothing special about it. And this actually, I think this is the Marvel movie that suffers the most from. So there's the idea that a poor screenwriting idea is to make one character smarter, you have to make the other one completely dumber. And so in order to make Hope Van Dyne the smart one, they really dumbed down Scott Lang. Like he was always kind of goofy, but in this movie he's straight up dumb. Like he is not smart at all in this movie, and so yeah, this movie it is completely serviceable, but it really has nothing going for it, in my opinion.
So I remember liking this movie, but I don't remember this movie at all.
Yep.
So I think just for that, I think it goes right at the end of B for me, right about there. It we talked about making our 10 favorite moments from the MCU. One of my favorite moments is in this movie, and that is the end credit scene where the snap has happened, but the ant is still sitting there playing the drums while the sirens are going on in the background.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that.
That is one of my favorite. I'd rank that pretty high in my favorite Marvel scenes.
I think him getting trapped in the quantum realm is like one of the more haunting scenes too. Did it break up again?
Yep.
Okay, cool. We'll get through this. Ant-Man, like him getting trapped in the quantum realm at the end of the movie. I think that's one of the more haunting scenes.
It's a great ending.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say because we had just saw Endgame, so the snap was still very much on our minds, and the whole time you're kind of like, "Is this before Endgame? When is this happening?" And then you're like, "Oh, now I know when this is happening."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So everything that I like about this movie has to do with Infinity War.
Yeah.
So yeah, completely serviceable. You have forgotten this movie completely.
On our
I
list
forgot about
is what scene?
What's that?
I was gonna say this is one that I have not seen, so I have nothing to add to this conversation.
That's Captain Marvel, right?
Yes.
Gotcha. All right, so I'll go ahead and take point on this then. And if there's any movie that we talk about that Feige will shut me down on, it's going to be this one. So, fun fact, I have actually seen this. Oh, really? Fun fact.
Yeah.
I have actually seen this movie more times than I've wanted to. What'll happen is I'll go to the gym and I'll hang out on the rowing machine, or I'll hang out on the elliptical or the treadmill. And this movie is always on TNT. So I've seen this movie a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that this movie suffers from one of the biggest screenwriting mistakes, which is we know the answer to the mystery. The audience knows the answer to the mystery, but the main character does not. It is very hard to make that interesting, and they did not succeed. So the whole movie, we know her backstory, we know what's going on, but she doesn't. And so we are watching someone not figure out her past, which is not interesting at all. I also think that Jude Law is not a great villain. I do like what I do like about this movie is you have the stuff between Captain Marvel and Sam Jackson. I think that's the strongest part about the movie. Also, I won $20 because of this movie, and I did not want to. That being before we went in to go see it, I looked at my brother and I said, I bet you it's that freaking cat that scratches his eye out, and it is not. And my brother's like, there's no way. $20? Absolutely. I won $20 and I was ashamed of it because that's so dumb.
Yeah.
You got to think back to like whenever in Winter Soldier, whenever he said, Alexander, you got to keep both eyes open. and it's such a chilling scene, and it's like your eye was scratched out by a cat.
Right.
Or last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye. Oh, you trusted a cat. Uh,
Right.
so for me, it's going to go above Ant-Man and the Wasp, but it is definitely not one of my favorites. And I've seen it many times at the gym. In fact, I think that's the only way I've ever rewatched it. I saw it in the theaters, and then I just watched it at the gym a lot.
Yeah. So I hate for the internet to get to me sometimes, but sometimes the internet just gets to me. And this is a movie where that happened. Now, I'm not a huge Carol Danvers fan to begin with. You know, the only story I like her in is in the X-Men when Rogue stole her powers, and there's this struggle of her trying to figure out who she was. I thought that was interesting. Other than that, I've never cared for Captain Marvel. But when this movie came out, there was a lot of people online. They're like, "Oh, if you don't like this movie, you hate women, you blah blah blah, this that whatever." And I'm just like, I just don't like the character. And at the same time, Alita Battle Angel was out, and I was a big fan of Alita Battle Angel.
Love that movie. We got okay. Side note, we got to talk about that movie sometime.
Oh, it's so good. So I was a big fan of that, and I was like, well, how can I hate women when I'm telling you Alita's the best movie? And they're like, oh, that's an alt-right movie, blah blah blah. And I just, you know, at that point, I was like, you know what, I'm never watching. So unless Caleb makes me on our he made me do it segment, I have no plans to ever visit this film. So
yeah, this one, like I made you watch Eternals because I think it would be funny. This one, I don't. I'm so indifferent about it that I don't think it would be interesting to make you watch this one.
All right. So next on our list is Endgame, and I'm trying to hold my Eternals comments until we get to Eternals. So
yeah.
So Endgame, where do you rank Endgame?
So Endgame, I just realized something. Hold on. I put the wrong ones. I just noticed that. Don't worry about that. I think this is indicative of the fact that Marvel's really bad at making posters and they all look the same.
Oh, definitely.
So, yes, there we go. Exposed. So for me, Endgame and Infinity War, it's really hard for me to distinguish them. To me, they are. I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, they're one movie. No, they're not one movie. They are definitely two separate movies. But for me, like, I just think about them together. So they're going to go in the same place, but I like Endgame slightly more. Just because I like the fact that we go back to the roots of the original six. I do like that, and I'm a sucker for member berries. I admit it. So being able to see the Ancient One and the whole scene with.
And you're breaking up again.
Feige, I like this movie. Stop. So yeah. I'm a fan of this movie. I like it slightly more than Infinity War, because I like it whenever the gang is together. You know, one of the hardest parts about Infinity War is they're never together, which is the point of the movie.
Right.
That, like, they're not together, and that's why they lost.
Yeah.
But you know, that's why I like Endgame slightly more.
So we actually have some viewer comments. Tempting Frog says Captain Marvel was good because it featured a Blockbuster store. Yeah, that's fun. The nostalgia. And then he also said Nick Fury made me not care about losing his eye after seeing this.
Yeah.
Universe, he lost the eye in like the Iraq War or something. A mine went off or something, and that's way cooler. So, yeah, I think for me, Endgame is probably going to go. I'm trying to decide if it's after or before Winter Soldier. I think it goes. I'll put it before. I think I don't like the heist stuff so much. I mean, it's okay, but I, I think that I think Infinity War is so good because it's a Thanos movie and a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and this one's an Avengers movie. So I think that's probably why I like it less.
Sure.
But that I can't argue that the second half of that battle is insane. So I think that's why it has to go in the S tier for me. But I don't. I think that these movies missed it. We really needed a middle of people living with the blip. Just that something set during that 5-year period.
Yeah, I'm waiting on it. I think that's like perfect for like your Disney Plus shows.
Yeah, I would like to have kind of hung out there more in the despair, and then maybe the movie end with them finding Ant-Man and saying, "Oh, but that's just me." I don't know if it would have done well commercially if they had done that. People have been so mad. So, but yeah, I really like this movie quite a bit. I will say this one is not as rewatchable as Endgame.
No.
I mean, as Infinity War.
Right. We hot take. We need to stop with the 3-hour movies because I'm not gonna rewatch them.
Yeah,
it's not that. I still haven't rewatched the I loved the Batman, but I still haven't rewatched it. I don't have the time.
Yeah, it's rough. And we'll talk about movie length here shortly with some of these films. So next up on the list is Spider-Man: Far From Home. This is the last movie of Phase 3.
Yes, it is. So this movie, oof. I am not a fan of this movie at all. I think this is a. If we're talking about how like Iron Man is too present in the Spider-Man movies, but that's kind of the point. And so whenever we get to No Way Home, we actually get like our good Spider-Man. This is like the worst parts of the MCU Spider-Man. It's going below Ragnarok for me. If anything, because of the bus scene where he almost kills a classmate because they like the same girl. I am not a fan.
Recently I've read some Dan Slott Spider-Man, and sometimes he has Peter Parker doing really dumb things like that, and I'm like, why would he do that? And then I went back and read the old Stan Lee comic books. I'm like, oh, Peter's always doing stupid stuff.
Yes.
So maybe he would. I don't know. So for this real quick, because I'm not sure where I'm gonna rank this one. I remember when I went to see this movie, they evacuated the theater halfway through because of a potential fire. So that kind of affected the film. I remember really liking the Mysterio dream sequences where I thought that part was really great. Other than the last act. So I'm going to put this one. Well, let's put on rank B right before Age of Ultron.
Okay.
To the left.
Oh, before. I see what you mean.
Yeah. I think that's pretty fair. I feel like the first two Spider-Man movies are just okay. And we'll talk about the third one here in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we got next?
Black Widow.
See. Black Widow is another one I have not seen. I almost watched it yesterday, but after Eternals, my brain was just like, you know what? I think we're done.
So I will once again go ahead and take point on this. So I knew this was going to happen where this was because last week I put stuff in A, B, S tier, all that. I knew this was going to be the negative show for me because I definitely think that Marvel has gone down as time has gone on. This this movie's trash. It is not good. I like it a little bit better than Far From Home just because I like Florence Pugh. She's great. Um, but Taskmaster is one of my favorite.
You're breaking up again.
Feige, come on. Taskmaster is one of my favorite Marvel villains, and out of any change that they've ever made to a Marvel villain, this is the worst. Like, this is the most like against the character, disrespectful. It's trash. I love
and he's a very. I was gonna say he's a really fun character in the comics.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
kind of he's a little bit of a coward, but he's kind of like, all for himself. But his powers are so much fun, where he can duplicate anybody's powers, and I think that he would make a like a reoccurring, like, oh, Smasher, what's he up to now? Type thing.
Yeah.
So
that's really why it's down so low. Because it's not like completely horrible, but the Taskmaster stuff is trash, and it's already like not. This is also a very uncomfortable film because the villain is basically Harvey Weinstein, but he's Russian.
Uh-oh.
So yeah. Plus the third act is not great. I think, and this is partly because of COVID, but like this is probably the worst CG that's ever been in a Marvel movie. It's really bad. But yeah, they do this thing with "Smells Like Teen Spirit" at the beginning, and that's pretty cool. Really, there are ideas in this movie that I like, but like they don't do anything.
The execution's off.
Yeah. And then we find out about Budapest finally, and that's not satisfying at all.
All right, so let's move on to Shang-Chi, a movie I did not see in theaters, but I did watch at home.
Yes. I am a big fan of Shang-Chi. This is actually what I wanted to bring up to the people who I was talking to after church. Because I didn't know whether or not to put this at the bottom of S or the top of A. I'm going to put this at the top of A tier. I love Shang-Chi. This is a great film. I think this is the best action. The on the side of the building fight is super cool. I think that the bus fight towards the beginning of the movie is the second best fight scene in the whole MCU, behind Captain America, Iron Man, and Civil War. What brings this movie down to A tier for me is the third act is a little out there with not Fing Fang Foom and the other dragon, like it's a dragon fight. Like it's a little out there. But this is a cool Dragon Ball Z movie. I'm a fan. And I also love all the references to Hero and The One and any Stephen Chow movie. In fact, they have Stephen Chow posters in the background, which is super cool. But yeah, I love this movie.
Again, I found the main character to be kind of boring.
Okay.
I find the main character to be boring, and I find I found her to be annoying. So I didn't hate this movie, but I don't love it. So it's probably like top of B for me.
Okay.
I agree with you. The third act is just kind of out of nowhere, and I feel like they go to this well a little bit too much time. Where, oh, we got to defend a village. I think we've seen that happen a few times in MCU movies. You know, we saw it in Infinity War, and you know, so it's like,
well, I mean, it's the Gungan Battle of Naboo. They keep doing it over and over again.
yeah. So I didn't love this movie. I liked his sister. I thought his sister was more interesting than he was.
Oh, his sister's dope.
But you know, I just felt like the movie had some issues. So I put it at I'll put it at B. All right. So
Hold on. There's a hold
made me
on.
watch the some ads playing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I wonder if they could
Awesome.
hear that.
I could barely hear it.
Oh my gosh, it was so loud. I couldn't hear what you were saying.
So I was saying next is the movie that Caleb made me watch,
Yes.
Eternals.
Yes. So for me, there's an Eternals here, right here. And so that's where this goes. There's a funny story behind this movie. I didn't see this movie immediately because I heard about how much people hated it, and so I had no real interest in seeing it. And it wasn't until because this movie came out in November, and so we had like seen Shang-Chi by this point and everything. It wasn't until like the end of January. It was January 30th. Me and my brother realized, wait a second, we have to keep the streak. And so the last day that it was playing was January 30th. It came out on Disney Plus like the Tuesday after that, and we already knew that. And people were like, "Why are you paying to see this movie whenever it comes out?" Because the streak must be kept. So I say all that to say I paid money to see this movie, and I think that's hilarious in and of itself. This movie sucks. This movie's like garbage. This movie, oh my gosh! Like there came a point where like me and my brother we actually started laughing during this movie because like there are times whenever this is laughably bad. There are times whenever this movie is.
Feige bad mouth of this movie.
I know. It is this movie's boring too. Like here's the thing. Like there's a scene that like no. It's too much. He doesn't.
I wonder if it's my internet that's having the hiccups.
Perhaps we pay a lot for our internet, so
yeah.
So there's a point in this movie where like there's a flashback to Babylon where they're
All right.
Yeah, here we go. There's a point where they're flashing back to Babylon, where they're starting the world, and like there's this big uprising, blah blah blah. But like it's so boring, and then it cuts back to the present, and never before has a movie made me say, "Oh, thank God we're back in South Dakota."
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I'm
so
not a fan.
let me see my tier list. I mean, I'm tempted to use your Eternals rank. Actually, can you hear me?
Yes.
My internet is going berserk right now. It's probably a C for me. Around the Hulk, I somehow felt that this movie was too long and too short at the same time. If that makes sense.
So I know what you're gonna say, and I definitely disagree with it. But go ahead.
So I have two thoughts about this. Comic books, and I like reading like the cosmic stuff, how things are created and stuff. But I don't need a movie about that. And that's what this is a movie about the stuff that's would be like, oh, by the way, blah 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 in the comic. This is not something that needs to be a movie.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess
And
we could kind of consider this the he made me do it section. Like we're already talking about it. But
yeah. Oh yeah. And so I feel like one of the problems with these characters are these are not great characters. As my internet keeps stuttering. I thought Druid was an interesting character. I thought Sprite had potential. I could see what they were going for there. But the rest of the characters were just very bland.
I can tell you who the best character was in the whole movie. That was Kumail Nanjiani's cameraman.
Yeah, I mean he was fun.
He was the best character in the movie. Like that's indicative of the movie itself.
Yeah, I feel like these characters, they don't have that Marvel hook that you have to have. Like Cap the first country, Iron Man's this, arms dealer, realizes how many people he's hurting, so he changes. There's nothing to these characters. The other issue is they were setting up stuff like, oh, did you know Druid's dating Makari? Why do I care? I don't know these characters. All the other characters like, oh, I hate this development, blah blah blah. Or I thought Thena had potential. They're like, oh my gosh, she's going crazy, and I'm like, I've never seen her sane. I don't have anything to base this off of. So I think if this had been like an 8-part Disney Plus series, it'd be way better. Like, I think if you start them out as these characters that feel like they're above humans, like they just look at humans like as ants, and then you slowly see them falling in love with humanity, like over time, and see their relationship, see Thena all of a sudden start going mad. You're like, oh no, what's happened to Thena? And then name is, so that's what I mean by this movie was too long to watch, but it also, they didn't set anything up.
Yeah. You got Harry Styles as Star Fox. That happened. That's weird.
Oh, so the ending. What the heck was that ending? If that happened in real life, people would be losing their minds. Like, religion would crumble. It'd be chaos in the streets. You would just see society collapse. That, oh my gosh, this worldwide hallucination of a celestial in the sky. You would have like people. What the heck?
Yeah. Now,
so
there's something that I've always abided by, and so I'll disagree with you about the show idea. No good movie is too long, and no bad movie is too short. That is my opinion on it.
Here's what I'd say. I don't hate the concept in here. I don't think they would make a good movie to begin with. But if you're going to do this story, you didn't have enough time to set up this many brand new characters. Like I said, I still don't. I guess Ajax's power was healing. I don't know, and I guess Kingo was just shooting blasts, but I don't know what his powers are.
And then cameraman guy, he would shoot videos of Kingo. That was his power. I keep making fun of this movie. By the way,
they are trying to shut it down.
Did you catch? I don't know if you caught this. It's a little subtle, but his name is Icarus, and then he flew into the sun. I don't know if you caught that.
I did not catch that. That is amazing.
Man.
Yeah. No. I love Jack Kirby. I think his artwork was amazing. But when you let Jack Kirby fly solo, you don't know what you're
Yeah.
going to get. And
I and here's the thing, he did this, but I think he did this better in something else.
right,
Because New Gods is way better than this.
right. And so, he went over to DC and he did New Gods, and then he came back to Marvel and he did this. I think these were kind of like his rejected ideas for New Gods. And so Kirby can be way out there, and this is one of his more way out there concepts. And like I said, there's no reason this movie should exist, but Marvel heard rumors that DC was going to do a New Gods movie, and they're like, "Oh, we got to put our Jack Kirby movie out before then."
Yeah. So,
like I said, it should not exist, and this is part of the issues with Feige. I think he has this concept in his head that anything I do is going to be successful, and there's some Marvel properties that should not be movies, and this is one of them.
this movie should not exist.
The problem also with this movie is it sets up a sequel.
Yeah.
And so are we getting that sequel?
God, I hope
I'm
not.
here. I'm starting to. I don't know if any of that is true or not.
Yeah.
So let's move
there.
on.
I missed that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, just that we hope that Eternals 2 doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I'm hearing rumors, but who knows if any of it's true or not.
Actually, one more thing. I was so excited for Black Knight, and I hated this.
Well, Black Knight and Cersei were Avengers. I mean, that's obviously what they're setting up, is that those two are going to join the Avengers.
Yeah, I love Kit Harington. I want him to be Black Knight. I got nothing in this movie.
It was kind of like, why is he? He's going to be our human interacting with these people. We can,
And then he's like,
and
deuces.
He's like, I'm out. Yeah.
So yeah, that's Eternals. I made you watch that.
Yeah. So let's move on to a better movie in Phase 4.
Oh, thank God.
And let's talk about Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Okay. This is a movie that I cannot be. This movie is like Iron Man 3. I just cannot be fair or objective about this movie. This movie's straight up S tier. Like this is top 3 MCU movie for me. You know what? No, we're gonna right there. Yeah, that's where we're putting it. This movie rocks. Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin is legit the best MCU villain. Oh my gosh, Feige! I swear,
Yeah,
he's
fantastic in this movie.
Yeah,
I think all the. Go ahead.
It's so funny to me that like your best villain in the MCU isn't even an MCU villain. I think I find that funny, but I mean, like that's just how good he is.
Yeah, so you're up again.
Okay, but yeah, that's just how good he is. Is like he's not an MCU villain, but he's the best MCU villain.
Yeah, I mean, this is like my top 3 favorite Spider-Man movies. Up there with Spider-Verse and Spider-Man 2.
Absolutely.
I think all the villains work, except for maybe the Lizard could have been better.
Yeah,
but
I remember coming out of this movie, me and my brother were watching it, and I was like, "Oh, that was so cool." What did Lizard do again?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to do that many villains and get it right. So but I think they did a pretty good effort.
Oh yeah,
I think J. Jonah Jameson's great in this.
Yes,
I think all the Aunt May stuff is fantastic.
I think this is some of the best cinematography in the MCU as well. Like there are some things where like you freeze frame it. I want that poster.
Yeah, and I think this has one of the best Marvel endings in any of these movies.
Absolutely.
it really felt like Peter had grown as a character at the
Finally.
end. It's just awesome.
Yes,
So
yes.
for me, I'm going to rank this also S tier, probably before Endgame. So between Guardians of the Galaxy and Endgame is where I would put this.
All right, yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, what you said
I feel like
about Peter growing, it's like finally he grew. That's what I felt about it.
yeah, this is the first one that actually
Mm.
didn't have the dumb fake Nick Fury. It didn't have Iron Man. It didn't have any of that. It's just Doctor Strange is in it, but he feels like he's serving the story, like he needs to be there.
Yeah.
And I like this movie a lot.
Yes, absolutely. I love it.
In the Multiverse of Madness.
Yes, yes.
Caleb, where would you rank Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness?
So I really enjoy this movie. I love this movie. To me, it's definitely like at the very top of A tier. It's I love all the characters in this movie. Surprisingly, they made me love America Chavez like pretty much immediately. Um, a character that I'm not a fan of in the comics, but I thought the actress was great. This was just a lot of fun. To me, the thing that keeps this movie out of S tier comes down to the Illuminati stuff. We've talked about this at length, so we don't have to spend too much time on it. But I'm not a fan of like the Illuminati and anything that happens in that universe. But yes, I'm a big fan of this movie.
So when I saw he just doesn't hold up.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably put it. I like Wanda a lot. Let's put between Shang-Chi and Spider-Man: Far From Home. So in B tier, right about there. That feels about right. Um, I feel like Wanda's turn happens very quickly in the movie, and there were some odd choices. I thought Vision should have definitely been in the film. But yeah, for the most part, it's not like I hate the movie. I just think the movie is fine. All right,
Mm-hmm.
so let's
Yeah.
talk about Thor: Love and Thunder because you just saw this Tuesday night,
Yes.
and I have no idea what you thought of this movie.
Yeah.
I know that you're not a fan. I know you're not a fan of Ragnarok, so I have a general idea of where this movie's going to go. But let's talk about this movie.
So I'll go ahead and let you know something.
Oh, and real quick, if you're listening, full spoilers for Thor: Love and Thunder. We're not holding anything back here.
Yes. So here we go. This is gonna blow your mind because you actually have no idea where this movie's gonna go. Um, I actually really like this movie a lot. It's insane to me because I definitely hated Ragnarok, and the thing that really comes down to is and unfortunately I don't have another word for it. It's what everyone's calling him, so we just have to and I'll say it once and then I won't say it again. But in Thor Ragnarok and Thor Love and Thunder, and even in a little bit in Endgame, uh, Thor's kind of a dumbass.
Yeah.
And so, but in it works in Endgame, and I think it works in this movie because they really do establish that there is a lot of pain behind all that. There is a lot of heartbreak. Because in Ragnarok, I got no sense of pain or heartbreak. I just got a sense of Chris Hemsworth was getting lazy and didn't want to.
Up again.
Oh, geez. In Ragnarok, he was just lazy and didn't want to do any acting, so he just was having a time getting paid. This one, I definitely sense that there were there was pain behind all of his ridiculousness, and he was definitely trying to keep people at arm's length. Which I thought that scene with Star-Lord was like, I'm trying to keep people at arm's length. You see, I'm too close to you. I have to leave. Like to me that was pretty funny, and there was a lot of comedy in this movie. They definitely put every single joke that they wrote in this movie, which is a problem. But I think Christian Bale as Gore was fantastic. I think Natalie Portman absolutely shines. She steals the show. I thought that they did her cancer storyline very tastefully. I was really afraid that they weren't going to do it tastefully.
I was gonna say I was worried they were gonna have like a magic cure at the end for it, and I was like, you can't do that with cancer. You can't just have like, oh, it's fixed now.
Yeah. And to me, I think Taika Waititi. Here we go. Taika Waititi. I think he really did learn stuff from Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni while working on The Mandalorian. This really does feel very Star Wars-y. And spoilers for Thor: Love and Thunder. It ends with the classic wolf and cub, because Thor adopts a kid, and I think that scene's fantastic. I love these are pan flaps from Earth. I don't like them. Yes, you do. Try them. I love all that. I think the scene where they go to Omnipotent City or whatever it's called, that's a very weak part. I'm not a fan of anything with Zeus or anything like that. I do think I'm very excited for Hercules. I love Brett Goldstein. I love Ted Lasso, and so him being Hercules is hilarious. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this movie, and what I really liked is this movie is kind of the opposite of Ant-Man and the Wasp, because, like I said, one of the issues with Ant-Man and the Wasp is you got to dumb down this hero to make your other hero smarter. I don't think they did that because Thor's already just kind of acting dumb. Like, he's not actually dumb, he's just acting that way. And Jane obviously has a lot to learn throughout the movie, which is fun. So big surprise for everyone. This is a middle A tier movie for me. I really enjoy this. I like this movie for right now slightly better than the first one, which officially makes it my favorite Thor movie. Which is a big surprise even to me. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this off to you. You go ahead and rip this movie a new one.
Sometimes your theater going experience can hurt or help a movie. So I was sitting down to watch this movie, and as soon as the movie starts, I hear a quiet voice, a voice say, "So Gore and his daughter walked across the desert, and they were very thirsty, and so they sat down." And I was like, "What? What is that voice?" And I couldn't figure out where the voice was coming from. And I looked over. The guy next to me was blind and was using headphones. And I was like, "Oh no!" so I leaned over closer to my son Jackson, and so I watched the whole movie, leaned over close to him, just because I had this voice that when the music would get quiet, I'd hear it narrating the whole movie.
Yeah.
So that was frustrating, but it wasn't too bad. Whatever. Thor sat on Jane's bed, and I was like, "Oh, okay." So that did not help the movie. That being said, I don't think this is a terrible movie. I just think the execution is off. I think the movie is, I can't believe I'm saying this, I think the movie's too short. I needed more scenes of Gore killing gods. I never felt like Gore was a threat. You just saw him kill the guy at the beginning, and then he was just kind of like, I stole your kids.
So what I really needed, because like I said, Omnipotent City is not a great section. What I needed was Gore to show up and start killing everybody.
Agreed, 100%. Thor should have left, and then Gore should have arrived and just started wreaking havoc.
Yes, yeah, that's what I needed.
Or we'll talk about how to fix this movie in just a minute. Let me get to my complaints, then we'll switch to that.
Yeah.
I like the jokes about the weapons being jealous. I thought that was funny. I hated the scene where all the kids got the powers at the end.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, I know a lot of people liked it. I was just kind of like, because I was already finding the kids annoying up to that point, and I was like, oh great, now they have powers. I thought Eternity it looked just like the comic book. So I thought that was cool.
Oh yeah.
Let's get on to how I would fix this movie, because I thought it was too short, and I don't think they set up things correctly. I think that they should have changed up why Thor and Jane broke up, that she wanted a family and he didn't. And he'd be like, oh, my father was, terrible to me and Loki. I could never be a great father. So that at the end, when he takes the girl in, it makes more sense. Like, oh, he's grown as a character. He's realized, oh, I can be a father. Just a little, just add just a little bit of dialogue, and that would make that payoff way better at the end. My other issue is with Gore is, if you're not going to show him killing gods, then change his plan to be, I'm going to kill the children of the gods. Because that would make sense. My daughter died, so I'm going to take away all of your children. And then that makes more sense why he kidnaps the Norse children. You know what I'm saying? And so then at the end, have him, getting ready to make the wish, and have it that Thor defeats him, and Thor's the one that gets to make the wish. And he can choose to either bring back Gore's daughter or to save Jane. Prayer should bring my child back, and have Thor say, well, I'm going to answer your prayer, and he brings the daughter back. I think there's just little things you could do to make the story more powerful. But that's just me. So I'm going to rank this. Like I said, I don't hate it. I just thought it should be better. Probably between Spider-Man, which one is that? Far From Home, and Age of Ultron. Probably right between those two.
All right.
So that's our rankings. We're going to keep updating these as more movies come out. We would add the TV shows, but I just haven't seen that many of them. I've seen WandaVision, I've seen What If, and I've seen Loki. That's it. WandaVision would actually rank super high for me. I really like WandaVision quite a bit.
Loki would be high up there for me.
So those were our tier lists. We'd like to hear what your favorites are. I've seen a lot of people have wildly different lists when it comes to their favorite MCU movies. I was watching Guardians of the Galaxy 2, like number 22 on his list. And as he was going on and on, I was like, he was like up to the 15th. So I was like, he hasn't said Eternals yet. Oh no. So I turned it off. I was like, I will get frustrated. But we would love to hear your rankings. What's your favorite? What's your least favorite? And I'm really, I think Wakanda Forever will be okay. I think Ant-Man Quantumania will be all right, but I'm really looking forward to Guardians of the Galaxy 3 next year.
Yes, absolutely.
Hopefully Marvel will just let James Gunn be James Gunn and finish his story. Of course, this script has been done for like 5 years. So
the script was done before Suicide Squad.
Oh yeah, this was done back around Infinity War. And it's weird because James Gunn has said there's no plans for Thor to be in this movie at all. Why are the Guardians of the Galaxy in this movie so little? What was even the point of having Thor go off with them at the end of Endgame? Seemed like a real wasted opportunity. It seems like there's a movie in the middle there that we're missing.
Yeah. I did like the intro though. Whenever uh, whenever Peter's like, "Oh, here it comes," and then like he starts mouthing what he's saying.
Yeah.
like that was pretty funny. I think that there's a bromance there that just was not explored.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like I said, we're going to save these lists. All right. So, let's move to the last segment of our show. We have a segment on here called He Made Me Do It, where we take turns making each other watch a movie or TV show. So, during the summer, really bad movies. So, last week, Caleb decided to make me watch Eternals.
Yes.
So here we go. Are you, and for those who don't know, Caleb is really into music. Caleb loves music.
Yes.
He is a musician. His dad's a musician. They're both. And let me say this. This is a movie I've probably seen more times than Star Wars.
Okay.
So how do you feel about Vanilla Ice?
Not great. I know him from the TMNT 2 Secret of the Ooze. That's my whatever your opinion is on that. That's my opinion on Vanilla Ice.
So you might think I'm going to make you watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, but oh no, you've seen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
Yes.
But have you seen Cool as Ice?
I have not.
So I'm not a complete monster. I will let you watch the riff track version because it's absolutely hilarious, and that's the only reason I've seen this movie so many times because I laugh my head off every time. This is a movie about Vanilla Ice. His motorcycle breaks down in a small town, so they're trying to get it fixed. And while he's there, he starts hitting on a girl, and that's pretty much the plot of the movie.
Oh, so this is Cars.
This is the plot to Cars, kind of. If Cars involved a kidnapping, that would be the plot. This movie is bizarre. Features Michael Gross, from the dad from Family Ties and the Tremors movies.
Oh, really?
And the whole movie is kind of shot like a music video almost.
Oh, good.
It is on Tubi, so it's free. Anybody who wants to watch this movie can go watch it. I think it's hilarious. The riff track is so funny. So Caleb will be watching this week. I'll probably watch it again this week because I love it so much. And then we'll hear what Caleb thought of it next week.
I mean, like, you know what's funny? So you made me watch Turbulence 3 Heavy Metal, and now you're making me watch this. Like, it's all music. Oh, it's all music based.
So I that is funny. One of the other ones on my list is a musical.
Yes.
So there is definitely a musical coming. Yeah, I've got 3 more picks for the rest of the summer, and they only get more wild from here. But Cool as Ice, like I said, it's on Tubi for free, and it is the riff track version. Very, very funny. So I highly recommend everybody check it out. All right. Well, when I started this live stream, there was a show I wanted to do. I think next week we're going to try to do it.
Okay.
And this is what I've been very excited about. Basically, and I don't want to give it all away, but basically we are going to look at the characters of the Marvel Universe and pick which ones are the essential characters that you have to have and which ones do you not have to have.
Okay.
And we'll go into more detail next week, but I think this could get into a very heated debate. So I highly recommend everybody tune in next week for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. We usually record about 6 o'clock Eastern on Sundays. Today we started a little bit early, but highly encourage you to check in then. But until then, I've been Final Monkey.
And I'm Caleb.
And we hope you enjoyed Pop Culture Shark, and we'll talk to you then. Bye.
See ya.